recording. Okay, so in the last class and maybe like previous examples that you have seen, right? Class and object. Okay, so whenever I'm creating an object, what I'm doing, let's take an example. If I have a student class, so what I used to do, a student obj equal to new student. So this is class name. This is reference variable. This is new keyword. What about this? So this is called constructor. What it construct? It's construct object. Okay, and if you see, there is no parameter, right? No, not a single value I'm passing here. So we call it default constructor. Okay, so today we will learn about constructors, what type of constructors we have, what is constructor, what is the use of constructor, what's and all are rules and regulation of a constructor. Clear? Okay. So first, basically, I just want to inform you guys, like this is constructor. We are going to learn about this only. Every time when I create an object, you might have a question in your mind, why I used to write this. So constructor name, if you see the constructor name is same as the class name. Okay. The only thing is that we are adding this parenthesis. Sometime we can pass values also. Sometime we may not. Okay. So let me start with a basic definition. So usually we call it constructor is a special method whose name is same as class name. Okay. One more thing, you might have seen that, like, it's not returning anything because constructor doesn't have a return type. Okay, what is return type, how many types of return types have, that we'll learn, but right now you have to remember constructor doesn't have return type, even void. So no return type, even void. So what does it mean? So it means is, let us assume you are having a class student, right? So when you define a constructor, so you define like this, similar to class name, you take one method, parenthesis open, parenthesis close. If you not define this, by default, it will get defined. Compiler will add this one. Okay, by default, even if not defined. Okay, so there are certain rules that we know further. The only thing you say, I'm like, when you define a method, what you used to write, public static void main, right? But here anything, there is no void, no int, no void, no int, nothing. Okay, it doesn't return anything. Okay, it just perform the task. Okay. No, one second. Number third point. Constructor invoked by JVM. What is JVM? Java Virtual Machine. So who invoked the constructor? JVM invoked the constructor. When? At the time of object creation. Clear?
Yes,
Now we know that we know a special method whose name is same as class name, no return type. Okay, invoked by JVM at the time of object creation. So what is the use of constructor? Today, what is the use of constructor? So as of now, you created uh, in the last class, right? We have created a certain objects, right? So what is the use? So when we are passing, when we are creating a object, let us assume, just take example here, and you guys can only answer what constructor used to do. Let us assume I have a student. A string name int role. Okay. Now we close this class. So let's take example. If I'm creating an object of this class, how I can create? A student obj equal to new student. Okay. Student obj equal to new student. So now if I print here system.out.println obj dot name system.out.println obj dot role, what output will get?
Null and zero.
Null and zero. Okay. So who is assigning null and zero? So with the help of constructor, JVM is assigning a default value to name and role. How? Because we are invoking this constructor. This is what? This is called default constructor. So what default constructor do? It will initialize object with default value. What is the default value? Null and zero. Okay. For string type, null. For int type, zero. Clear? So basically, constructors are mainly used to initialize instance variable of class with different set of values. Always remember instance variable. Okay. So constructor are mainly used to initialize. Initialize whom? Instance variable. With different set of value. Okay. So right now we have seen it's only assigning with the default value, right? Clear? As I said, like every time when we create it, when we print, right, it's always have a default value because till now we only use this constructor, which is default constructor, right? Okay. So what is the way and all? We'll see. Like how to create a parameterized constructor, right? So everything we'll see today. Okay. So right now, till now, we know two things. Constructor is a special kind of method which is used to which is help us to create an object, right? And second thing, this if constructor doesn't have parameter, right, we call it default constructor. Okay. So sometime if it's right now I have not declared any constructor inside that, right? By default, right? I have not uh, do I have declared any constructor here? No, right? I just created a class ended here having two properties. So when you not define constructor by yourself, right? When you are not writing constructor inside the class, right? Then one default constructor will be inserted by Java compiler. So who insert the default constructor? Java compiler. So when you write like this, you doesn't have any constructor. By default, one constructor will get created by compiler for you. Okay. That is called default constructor. So maybe in example scenario, you have seen that I'm just creating a class and giving the property. I'm not declaring any specific constructor, and I am able to write this line, right? So that is called default constructor. Okay. Okay. Now take example. Okay. So I am creating a class, a student. Okay. Now I have property called int role string name, right? Okay. So you have seen the use of default constructor. I will introduce you with the new constructor, which is called parameterized constructor. It's similar. The only thing is that a student. The name and constructor name and class name would be same. Okay, now I have two properties, role and name. So here I will pass int x, int y. You can give any name to this x and y. Okay, curly braces open, curly braces close. Now, sorry. So I have one int x. Second one is name. So second property I supposed to take string. So I have taken int x string y. Okay. Now this x value, whatever value come to x, I will assign to role. So I have to write like this. This is a keyword. We'll talk after this. You just remember to access instance variable, we have to use this keyword. This dot role means current object point to role. This is the meaning of this line. Okay. So whatever current object at present time have to point to role equal to whatever value I've got x. This dot name equal to y. Okay, so I have created one constructor. So when you add any constructor by yourself, okay, so now you have only this constructor. There is no default constructor because once you add your own constructor, JVM will not, sorry, compiler will not insert default constructor when you have any sort of predefined constructor in your program. Okay, I close this. Now I'm taking another class call, a class call test public static void main string args. Not waste the time just to explain. Okay, so now I have a student. I'm creating object obj equal to new student. Okay, so now I have this constructor, right? This one is take two parameter. One is integer, another one is string, right? Okay. So I will pass roll number because first one is integer. So I will pass 23. Name I will pass A B H I. Okay. So now this one will invoke this, and this value x, what we have 23. So x we are assigning to this one, this dot roll. So now roll become 23. Now Abhi come here in string y. Now string y will get assigned to this dot name. So now for this object obj, when you print system.out.println obj dot name, what will print?
Abhi.
Abhi. Okay, clear till here?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So now we'll see some example. We'll do some coding. Okay. Then you guys will get more clear. You guys are able to understand this, right? No issue till now?
No issues. I can understand.
Right. Let me stop this screen. Okay. So we'll take. So I will explain with the student class itself. Okay. I'm audible to you all, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So class a student. Just today we'll focus on constructor. Okay. Sorry. We'll take a student T. Okay. Because already in the same package we have a student here, right? So now I will take one example int role and one second string name. Okay. Okay. So right now when I create, you will see when I'm creating, Just you guys have to focus that. Okay, it's very important. So I'm creating a student. So see, I have created one object, right? So when I print this obj dot role system dot out of println obj dot name, right? Okay. When I print this, so what value I will get? I will get for role, as you said, 0, for name null, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And if I have to assign the value to role and name, how I can do that? Obj dot role and then 1, 2, 3, whatever. So let assume, think through. Let assume I have 10 properties. So every time I will create object, then I will like that. If I have to create 10 object, I have to write 100 lines, right? Correct. Let assume I created object 1, object 2, object 3. For each object, if I have to assign value, I have to write 100 to 200 lines, right?
Yeah.
Right on. Okay. So there is a concept, as we already discussed, constructor, where we can pass a value like how we are assigning here, right? It will do the same task, but with the help of constructor. So we'll do that. We'll see what change here. Okay. So as I said, when you not define any constructor, by default by default compiler insert a constructor to the dot class. Okay. So right now compiler adding a constructor to help us. Okay, because we have not defined any constructor. Okay. Let take example. If I define a constructor, so how many properties I have? I have two properties, right? One is role, which is int, and second one is string. So I'm taking int role. So usually people used to give same name, but what happen initially if someone gives same name, you will get confused. String name. Okay. So now in top you are able to see there is a error, right? See here in line number 7 you are seeing this red mark, right? This is called compile time error. So why I am getting error? So there is a rule. Once you define a constructor, parameterized constructor, you also have to define this constructor. You may not define, that is fine. But if you are using this default constructor, you have to define that constructor. So what happens when you declare your own constructor, compiler stop inserting default constructor to your class. You both are able to understand this line or not?
Sorry, can you just explain this one particular thing again? Why it is getting compilation?
Yes. So when you define your own constructor, right? So see here, I'm defining my own constructor. If I not define this, there is no issue. Okay. So compiler behave as it is. Like if it check your class, there is no constructor, then it will insert a default constructor for you. Okay. But if you define your own constructor, compiler will say that, okay, now you have your own constructor. If you need a default constructor, you can define by yourself. I'm not going to insert for you. So if you need this, then what do you have to do? You have to define that one also. Now there is no error. Clear to you all?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So now, see. So what happened? If I call this, what happened? See right now. We'll see. In the similar fashion, how it's behaving before, it will behave. It will assign the default value because we are not passing any value, right? So it will 0 and null. Okay. Okay. Now I don't want to use this one. I maybe next time or maybe later I will use default constructor. I can have this. This is fine. I can also, it's fine to not have this as well. Okay. Let me first do. So I have passed here value 44 and name. Let I pass name. Okay. Sorry. So I pass 44. So 44 is what? Roll number. Name is name. So this 44 will come here and name will come here. So now this roll number I have to assign to this one. This is actual one. So To access instance variable, what we are using? This. This is a keyword which will point to current object. We'll anyhow learn in next chapter about this. Right now, just remember this dot role means I am targeting this role. Okay. Equal to, sorry, equal to ROLL. So what happened? The 44 you pass, it's what is assigned to this one. This dot name. So what your name you have passed, right? So now this got assigned to name, right? Okay. So now you guys may think, okay, then why we are having it? So we can keep this one as well. We can remove it. If you are using it, keep it. Not using it, remove this. If you keep in future, you can use this. Clear?
Yes, clear.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So it's like you can have multiple constructor. Okay. So you have parameterized constructor. This one. Okay. Let take an example. I can have also a constructor. Okay, which will take. So this is a single parameter. This is a two parameter. So now we see we have passed this. We have print this. Okay. Now take an example. A student T. I have obj 2 equal to new student T. Okay, so in new student T, let assume I'm passing, I'm not passing anything. Okay, and let me print this. Okay, clear? So for this is object 2. Okay, now let me do this. And so right now, how many constructor we have in our class?
3.
3 constructor. One is default one, another one with 2 parameters, and another one is single parameter. So let me invoke this single parameter where I pass 456. Okay. So now the first one you know, the second you know, second one, first one what we'll get? 44 and
44
Nimai.
Nimai.
Second we'll get, because you are using default constructor, what we'll get?
0 null.
0 null.
Okay. Now this one you guys have to guess. Any guess, like anyone?
Can you show me the
45
full program
and
down?
null.
Okay.
Yes. So you are getting, what you are getting?
44
For
Nimai.
456.
We are not getting 456.
You will get now because I am using this object
Oh,
2.
okay.
Okay. So now we'll see. So you get 456, the number you have passed, and the value you have not passed. For that, what we'll get? We
Null.
get null. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So now what we understand here? We can overload constructor. Only thing we are overloading, right? Overloading means you have the same name and different parameters. So now you have 2 parameters here, 1 parameter here, 0 parameters. So there, as previously I said, when you define your own constructor, if you need default constructor, you have to add it. Otherwise, compiler will not add it for you. That is the one point. The second point, this role and name. So this role we can have here X, Y, Z, anything. Okay, you can have X, we can have Y, right? The only thing is that whatever name you give here, that name you have to pass it here. Okay. So it's not like you have to give role and name. Why we are giving role and name? So that we understand this role will go to role and this name will go to name. That is the reason we are giving. This is a naming. It's kind of standard. So if you give X, Y, Z, let us know we have 5 parameters. Forget what is X, what is Y. Correct. So if you give role name, so it's not like you have to give role only here. Not like you have to give. This should be this dot role, but this is anything to do. Whatever you write here, you have to pass it here. Clear? Right? And the second thing, this int role string name, right? So 1 second. So let's take example. So there is a change in Java 23 in constructor. Okay. So I have add that medium link, which I already published like almost a month back. The new features of Java 22. Okay, the preview features. So in that one, I have a specific mention about constructor. So that we'll learn once we complete our Java 8, when we are going through the features of, right? So there are many things. What could be the first statement? What could be the last statement? There is no return type and all. So that all we cover when we go read about this. We read about super. So if anywhere you encounter with this type of questions, you say like, we just finish a basic constructor, we have more to go. Okay, clear to you all?
Yeah.
Yes, clear.
Okay, the second point, you cannot invoke constructor. See, I'm not invoking it, I'm just calling it. You cannot invoke the constructor. Who invoke the constructor? JVM will, right? You cannot specify the return type. This is constructor. If I write it here int, right, I can write it and I can do here return 5. I can return it. But when you do that, it is not a constructor anymore. It's become normal method. Okay. So if someone say, can you provide a return type to a constructor? You say you can not specify the return type for the constructor, but when you specify the return type for the constructor, then it will treat it as a normal method. Clear to both? Okay.
It's clear.
Yeah. Now the second thing, this is called empty return. Okay. So inside the constructor, you can use this. Okay. So remember, like if someone very good in Java and all, they try to uh, ask you this type of question. Can you have a return type inside a constructor? You can say you can have return a blank return inside that. Okay. Which is clear to this is like a point to be noted kind of thing. So you always remember that. Okay. You can have a empty return statement inside the constructor. Clear to you all?
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys are able to understand constructor or not?
Yeah. It's able to understand the constructor.
Okay. So it's basically I'm creating object. Okay. Okay. Now one more thing. Let's assume a scenario where I have this. Can I do like this? Okay. Let's assume I'm here. I'm 45. Here I'm writing. Okay. Understand? So now what I'm doing, when someone invoke this, I am having 45, name is Avino. So this is possible. Where I'm doing this is right. Okay. So what output will get? Simple.
45
So
and
Avino. So it's like, but what is the issue with that? So whatever object you will create, they all have the same thing. Roll number 45, because I have hard coded this, right? I am not dynamically passing this one, right? So if any certain point of time you need a common value for all the objects, so you can do like this. Let us assume roll number is common. Let's take an example. I'm adding school here. String SCH sorry, SCH school. Okay. So what I will do is here. So I will write in this one. Okay. Let me do that. So to this roll, one second, this dot SCH school equal to. So I know that all the for all the objects, right? School name will be all the student school name will be common, right? So that is the reason the two property I'm passing dynamically, and this one I make like for all the object, just add this one. So if you see here, a student Nimai and all, I will create one more student. Okay, object 4 and object here object. Okay, this is let it be object. Let it be here object 4, object 4, Nimai AKS 444, and I have not passed the school name, right? So 1 minute remaining. 1 second. So I have obj4 dot school name. So what happened for this 2, right? We got the other properties will change, but school name will be common for both of them, right? So let me run it quickly. See, MNPS and MNPS. For Nimei, these two things change